We are live, my friend.
Right on. Hello.
What's happening, brother?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Kent.
No, thanks for joining us. I'm excited to have you here, dude. I'm really pumped about having you out in a couple weeks, or a few weeks, I should say, at the Scale and Escape here in San Diego. And I know our crowd is excited to hear your story and take away all the gold nuggets that you're going to be sharing there. But I thought we'd spend a couple minutes here today just for those of the people that are out there, because you don't necessarily come from the real estate space. And needless to say, my crowd is very real estate centric. So I want to, give you as much exposure and then give them the opportunity to really get to know a little bit about you. Because, man, as maybe people do, or maybe people don't know, I should say, I sought Bedros out. We were introduced by a mutual friend, Los Silva, who I've mentored and been, friends with for years. And he and I were talking about this event, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 months ago. He was at my last Find and Flip. And I was like, man, I need another really powerful speaker. I've got to have, we just crushed it with Ed Milet. And I got to have somebody come out that, kind of rocks everybody and gets them jacked up just like he did, because that's what this is about. This is about getting in people's heads and making them unlock things that are holding them back, making them push through barriers that they don't even know exist, et cetera. And I mean, without even hesitation, Los is like, I'm going to introduce you to my friend Bedros.
My man.
Ever since then, brother, we've been working to put this together. So I'm excited to have you here and excited to, again, have you in a couple months as well, dude.
Right on. Well, it's going to be a great time, and I'm not going to let your audience down. I can tell you that. I got one hell of a track record, and I'm fiercely competitive.
I love it, dude. So, hey, I would never even be able to remotely do your introduction justice. You mind kind of just telling everybody a little bit about who you are, and then we'll kind of get into your story, maybe get into some questions here for a few minutes. So that's cool.
You betcha. So I always say the easiest way to understand who I am is I'm the immigrant edge and I'm the American dream, because in 1980, I was 6 years old. My dad decided that we're going to escape the communist Soviet Union. My dad was a member of the Communist Party, reluctantly, not by choice. And he decided that we're going to pretend like we're going on a vacation to Italy, because Italy was a sympathizing country to communism. And then from there, a family of 5, myself being the youngest, 6 years old, we went into the American consul, and my dad demands that I say the next statement: we legally entered the United States. And he says, son, whether you speak from stage, you speak on those podcasts, and he's got a heavy Armenian Russian accent, or he says, you write that book, you tell them we enter the country legally, because when you enter legally, you value the country. And you know what? I agree with my dad, and that's the facts. And I'm not here to make a political statement. I'm just telling you, I'm going to do what my dad says, because he's my hero.
I love it.
So anyway, so that said, man, imagine this. I'm a foreign kid. We come to this country, family of 5. We don't speak English. We don't understand the culture. We just know that we're in a country of freedom and opportunity. And my dad's working. Literally the next day, we were living in someone's 1-bedroom apartment. Like, he gave us 1 bedroom in his 2-bedroom apartment. It's a family of 5. And the next day he's delivering newspapers. In the evenings, working at a pizzeria. In the afternoon, pumping gas. My older brother and older sister have multiple jobs by day 3. By day 5, my mom has 2 jobs. And of course, I end up being the breadwinner at the age of 6. And you're probably wondering, how do they have the jobs, but you're the breadwinner? In that month, we only had 1 month to live with that guy. And after that, we were supposed to find our own place. And we were applying for Section 8 housing, which is government-assisted housing. And my dad knew that even though we were going to get a discount on the rent, we still needed to have money. So long story short, he had found these dumpsters behind grocery stores where they threw away food. And the food was expired, or maybe it had a little bit of mold on it and it couldn't be sold. And so he would push me into the dumpsters every night, and I would fish out bread and cheese and milk and eggs and vegetables, and they were salvageable and we would eat them. And so when you've had this type of resistance in your life and adversity in your life, all of a sudden some kind of entrepreneurial setback is no big deal. When the economy crashes in 2008, I'm like, I'm not eating out of a dumpster. I'm good. Yeah. And so we fast forward now. I go through elementary school and high school, et cetera. And growing up, getting bullied and moving around to a lot of apartments. I went to 3 elementary schools, 2 junior highs, 2 high schools. And I realized, since I don't have a lot of friends, I get bullied a lot. And I started to eat so much. I was eating my emotions. And dude, by the time the summer before senior year, Kent, I was about 40 pounds overweight. Kids are brutally vicious when you're overweight and you're a foreigner and you don't speak English well. And I was getting picked on. And so I knew senior year was the following year. And I asked a friend of mine who was on the football team, I said, hey, Dave, take me to the gym, teach me how to work out. I want to burn fat. I want to build muscle. I want to ask Nakaya to the prom. And she was my goal, man. And while that summer I worked out and got in great shape, I came back senior year. I was too afraid, didn't have the confidence to ask Nakia to the prom. So I never made it to the prom, but I was forever in love with working out, not because of the physical change it gave me, but because of the self-esteem, the confidence, the mental edge, and the ability for people, all of a sudden people talk to me. I was no longer invisible.
Right.
And I said, all I want to do is help one more person do that. So I got certified. And you think like, hey, I'm in great shape. I'm certified. I've got the education. People are going to flock to me and throw money at me. Well, Kent, before I knew it, I had 4 personal training clients at LA Fitness. I was making $11 an hour, and I was a fry cook at Disneyland and a bouncer at a gay bar off the 5 freeway here. You're in San Diego, the 5 freeway runs right through. And I go, there's no doctor who's also a fry cook and a bouncer. There's no lawyer who's a fry cook and a bouncer, yet I'm a personal trainer. I see myself as a professional, but I was a fry cook and a bouncer to make ends meet until one of my personal training clients, Jim Franco, one day said, hey kid, why are you so tired on a Monday morning? I said, well, Jim, I've been working all weekend as a fry cook and as a bouncer. He said, that's because you don't know how to sell. You're an order taker, not a salesman. And I said, I beg to differ. Yeah, could you imagine that? And dude, so I was in my mid-20s and this guy's in his 60s. I was a software company, harsh man from the East Coast, had moved out to the West Coast. And he just lacing into me with love. But at that time, I just took it as like, this guy just hates me or something. So I said, hey, I beg to differ. I sold you 6 months of personal training 3 times a week. He goes, no, you didn't. I came in here looking for 6 months of personal training 3 times a week. You just took my order like a waitress. And he didn't say waiter. He said waitress. Yeah. And that's where he had my attention. And I realized that I was letting people walk that I should have been serving. And because of that, I had 2 side jobs. So you fast forward and Jim started to mentor me. He brought me Tom Hopkins cassette tapes in real estate, actually. And I was so dumb and naive. I said, Jim, this says real estate sales. I'm a personal trainer. Look at these muscles. He goes, hey, dummy, every time Tom says real estate, you just hear personal training. I go, oh, okay. So Tom Hopkins led to Brian Tracy to Zig Ziglar to Jay Abraham and Dan Kennedy and Tony Robbins. And before you know it, I'm learning sales, influence, marketing, persuasion. And now I'm selling so much, making so much commission. I go to Jim and I go, hey, Jim, a year later, I go, how do I open up my own personal training studio? And he starts mentoring me. Before long, I had 5 personal training gyms in San Diego, North County, San Marcos, Vista. Yeah, that your neck of the woods there. Yeah. And dude, what was really cool about that is he taught me one little lesson. And this is something I want to leave with your audience. It's little degrees of changes that happen in life that make a big impact. And I'll explain what I mean. At 211 degrees, water boils. And you can throw an egg in there and you'll have a hard-boiled egg. 1 more degree and you have steam. At 212 degrees, you have steam and it can power a locomotive. Yeah. And so I was selling personal training in my studios, or my first studio, 5 and 10 workouts at a time. And then I would come back to you and say, hey, Kent, you ran out of sessions. You want to buy another pack of 10? Jim said, how come you don't have me on a subscription? I said, this is how we do things in my industry. He goes, your industry is broken. He goes, I own a software company and I got 14,000 people paying me $69 a month. It's like, well, who's going to pay me $500 a month, Jim? He goes, I am, and all these rich people that you serve. I put my business on EFT, subscription model, electronic fund transfer. Within 2 years, I sold all 5 of my studios, not because of the Premier Results name, but because my business had legs, it had receivables, and I was able to sell and escape. So that to me was huge. Now, obviously today I'm the founder and CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, 800 franchise locations worldwide. I coach and consult NFL athletes, Navy SEALs, entrepreneurs, New York Times bestselling authors. And I'm just a really blessed guy, but bottom line, immigrant edge, American dream, man, I'm living it.
Amen, baby. God, man, that's freaking fascinating. I love it. I love it's interesting. My wife's father came over here in his 30s from India.
Yeah.
And same kind of thing. Didn't speak the language, didn't know anything, and by the time, I want to say by the time he was 40, he owned the largest RE/MAX brokerage in the state of Florida.
Wow, good for him.
And it's always one of the things that fascinates me about the story, among a lot of things. But one of the things I love about that is there's so many people that they are caught in this trap of effectively playing the role of a victim, When there are real victims out there, right? I'm not saying there's not real victims, but there's so many people that get caught in this mental game, playing the role of a victim, telling how the world is holding them down, holding them back. And then you hear things like this where, no, man, I'm blessed to be here. I got air in my lungs. I got blood in my veins. I'm healthy. I'm walking, I'm talking. I have the opportunity here to do things. So I love hearing, that kind of stuff when people come in like, no, just get the hell out of the way. I'll figure it out,
That's it. And by the way, can I tell you something in your audience? We are here on this planet to figure things out. That's all we're supposed to do. This morning, when you woke up, the very first thing you had to do was problem solve. What clothes am I going to wear? I've got a problem. I'm in my PJs or I'm in my underwear. I got to wear clothes. And if you have 2 cars, then what car am I going to take? And if you're going to go to the fridge, what am I going to eat? Our job in life is to solve problems. As entrepreneurs, we are given bigger problems. And it's funny, people know that you're supposed to go to the gym and work out and sweat and push your body so that you can get bigger, stronger, and have more energy. And they're willing to do that. Yet they're not willing to push and build their entrepreneurial muscles by dealing with bigger problems, right, so that those problems, the adversity, can build your entrepreneurial muscles. And so I once told a coaching client, he goes, here we are now making $26 million a year, Bedros, and I'm still dealing with the same problems. They're just bigger. I go, dude, that means you're on your way to 36 million a year, which is a great thing, because the only people that don't have problems are dead people. They have 0 problems. The rest of us, our job is to problem solve every single day. That's it.
Amen, man. Amen. And you make a really good point, which is as big a reason as anyway I wanted you to come to this event, is because a lot of people that are watching this, they have begun their entrepreneurial journey, or they are they are starting that out. And I think a lot of people get confused in believing that, all right, once I get going and once I start to figure out how to make an income, and now I'm making $100,000 a year, $150,000, and I'm walking away from the 9 to 5, and I'm finally kind of somewhat financially stable, that somehow that has become, what they were designed to do. And that is the entire reason why we put this event together, is because that guy, that girl that got there has to clearly understand, and I know you agree with me, that you have to move on to bigger problems, bigger challenges, bigger opportunities, in order to ultimately give yourself the options. Like you said, if one day you want to go sell the business, the 5 stores, and get out and do whatever you want to do, or you will never be able to do that if you are stuck in that grind, stuck in that hustle mode, stuck in that mentality of just kind of continuing to grind it out.
That's exactly right.
So let me, I'm going to ask you a few questions here. I polled our audience, or I should say my tribe here, and had 5 or 6 questions here. I'd love to kind of get your feedback on it,
sure,
and then we'll kind of put a bow on it. So, I ask this a lot of people when they're on my podcast, but success means a lot of things to a lot of people. I'd love to know the way you, at this point in your life, define success. What is it to you?
To do what I want with who I want for as long as I want.
I love it. And you're never going to do that if your ass owns a job. That's for sure.
Right. And just to give you an example of that, spring break was long past, but last week decided to pull my kids out of school for a whole week because they go to private school. And my wife and I talked to the school, and we said, hey, we'll put them in this private school as long as they maintain a 3.8 GPA. We want to be able to pull them out whenever, so they can hear GoDaddy talk on stage or whatever. And I had a gig in New York, and I said, you know what, guys, let's just go to New York for a week. I'll speak, and then we're going to enjoy New York and go to Brooklyn and go eat DeForest pizza. That is a great example of doing what you want for as long as you want with whoever you want. And because I pulled my kids out, because I donated a lot of money to my kids' school, and it's a private school, and guess what? Money moves the needle. And because we've got the lifestyle where we can homeschool our kids while we're away, we're okay with that. And because we can do this, and our business is systematized, and I've got 3 VPs running our headquarters here, I can disappear, God forbid, get hit by a bus, and Fit Body Bootcamp will continue to grow and get to its goal of 2,500 locations. And that, to me, is success.
Amen. Man, I couldn't have said it any better. I love that. I mean, that's, it's really hard. I cannot wait for you to talk about this at the event in particular, because it's hard for people. There's a lot of people that kind of put that in almost like a cliche. They hear us say these types of things, but when you really put definition to it about what you just talked about, taking your kids out of school, having the opportunity to do that, nobody suffers. I mean, that's what life's about.
Yeah.
I applaud that. So talk to me for a second. I know everybody's got one, and if you're like me, you probably got more than one. What's the big hit? What's the big punch in the face, the big knockdown that inevitably you had as an entrepreneur, right? where you had to get back up and keep moving? Has it happened?
Well,
I'm sure it has.
yeah, I've had several because I'm a very slow learner. So yes, I can relate to you more than anyone. I've had several knocks, and I talk about it in my book, Man Up, ironically. The biggest one was this. When I started Fit Body Bootcamp, I didn't initially come out the gate as a franchise. In fact, truth be told, I had a business partner and we started off as a licensing program. Pretty much think CrossFit, where you can put a CrossFit anywhere. There's no federal trade commission overseeing it because it's not a franchise. You just license out the brand, etc. And dude, because I was a horrible leader and a poor communicator and indecisive, those three things, poor leadership, horrible communicator, and indecisive, which is what most people are, whether you're watching this and you're like, no, but I'm not. Yes, you are. Trust me. I ended up having so much friction, so much resentment towards my business partner and him towards me, because we were two chefs in the kitchen and we weren't cooking the same thing, that we ended up not only separating and parting ways, but also ended up eroding our family friendship, which really sucked because my kids loved his kids and vice versa. And so when that happened, I went into a depression, and already the business was struggling, and it was a licensing program. And if that wasn't enough, the state of California reaches out to me and says, hey, look, we see you've got 182 locations right now. This was in 2012. We see you got 182 locations right now, and we see you're giving each location a protected territory. And so you're actually operating as a franchise. So we're going to fine you $2,500 per location.
Oh.
Now, they might as well have said $2.5 million per location, because I did not have that kind of money, dude. Like, we're just starting out, right? And so all of a sudden you realize, man, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that I don't have, that I'm going to be in a world of poop. And it was a great opportunity to quit because, one, I didn't want to become a franchise. Two, I no longer have a business partner to take on half the risk. And three, I take on literally, he leaves, I buy him out, and 2 weeks later, the state of California wants to fine me. It's like, could you have fined me 2 weeks ago, where at least I could have had half the risk, right?
Oh my God.
So 3 things happened in a 2-week period where I was like, I should quit. But I also realized in that moment that there's 182 people that have signed a lease somewhere across the country as a storefront, and they've opened up a Fit Body Bootcamp, and they're relying on me to give them the systems to run that Fit Body Bootcamp. Am I going to be the guy that's going to let them down and break my promise to them? I'm not. So it was suck it up, man up, and do what's right. And, you know, ironically, 5 years later, the title of my book is Man Up, and it says cut the bullshit and dominate your path in life and business. And it was really it. I had to teach myself to stop making excuses and cut the bullshit, stop making excuses, take control of my situation, because I kept blaming my business partner, the state of California, my stupid employees, my licensees who are now franchisees. They don't get it. And the state of California came back to me and said, listen, tell you what, we're not going to fine you, but you've got to become a franchise since you're operating as one. And it took me 11 months and $82,000, 80 of it, which I didn't have, right? So all this to tell you that you could either suck it up, Buttercup, or you could give in immediately at the first sign of adversity, of challenge, and stay bubble wrapped and go get a job and work on building someone else's dreams and sign the back of the paycheck. But I told myself, this is not why my dad brought me to America. I'm designed to sign the front of the check. I'm not going to break my promise to 182 now franchisees, and I'm going to make it, or I'm going to die trying. And that's just one of many setbacks in my life.
I love the internal conversation. I don't think people, or I know a lot of people do, but I know there's a lot of people that don't appreciate that's still, I'm sure that still happens to you today. When you get hit, you get challenges today. There's still some internal conversations like, I'm designed to fight through this. I love that, dude. That is exactly, you know, you and I have kind of similar, I mean, we'll talk about it a lot, but at the end of the day, I kind of came up and built a really big business and then lost it all when I was 32 years old, right? Built a $1.8 billion a year company, the 7th largest privately held company in the state of Florida, with a lot of help. It wasn't just me, but I was the guy, quite frankly, that when I did it, all you had to do was ask me and I would have told you it was just me, right? That's the reason I did it. And so.
Very humbling, right?
Oh man, I got humbled like like I would not wish upon anybody in my life, right? And but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And to your point, what it taught me was that quite frankly, it trained me. It trained me that I had the mental fortitude and that I'm designed, kind of exactly what you're talking about. Like we are designed to be great. And I believe that about everybody, that we have it in us. But if you listen to the wrong conversation, man, it's easy to get sidetracked.
And you know, it's funny because if there's any audience right now that's having a secondary conversation in their head, like, yeah, well, you guys are designed for this, or Ed Milet is designed for this, maybe Tony Robbins is, but I'm not. I'm going to prove to them scientifically that every single one of us are designed to thrive. You hear about the story every few years that, you know, a mom is driving down the road, her car flips in a car accident, her child's leg is stuck underneath the car. She somehow musters up energy of a steroid-bound power lifter to lift the car enough to pull her child out. We hear about these stories. Or the guy who was stuck, he just went hiking, then he got stuck in the rock. They made a movie about him, and he takes his pocket knife and he cuts off his own arm, right? Now, he didn't train for that. That Mrs. Jones, whose car flipped, she didn't train for that. Right. She has it in her. He has it in him. And I share this because a couple of years ago, I was on stage. Well, actually, I was right about to go on. I'm getting mic'd up while Tony Robbins is on stage at Joe Polish's Genius Network event, his annual event. And Tony's on stage doing his Tony thing with big giant mittens for hands, you know, clapping and getting everybody pumped up. And I'm like, how the hell am I going to follow this guy, right? But I'm listening to him and he's wrapping up his talk and he goes, and I just want to tell you all that anyone can start a business in the summertime and spring. Anyone can thrive in summer and spring, but I'm born for the winter. Say it with me. I'm born. And he's got everybody chanting it. Now I'm in the back getting mic'd up. I'm born for the winter, right? And I'm like, holy crap, what am I going to do to get on? And so the only thing I could do when I got up on stage was I just started continuing. I'm like, I'm born for the winter. And everyone just goes, you know, starts busting up. But the bottom line is, he's absolutely right. Every single one of us can thrive in summer and spring when things are going our way. The truth of the matter is we are all by design, as proof as the guy that I told you about who cut off his arm and Mrs. Jones who lifted up the car to rescue her baby. We are born, we're designed to be able to handle winter. Unfortunately, society has taught us to be soft and weak. Don't take a risk. Be careful. Watch out. Don't do that. What do you know about that? You didn't go to college. And so they take this ferocious lion or this fighter jet and they remove your fangs and turn you into a crop duster. But I'm telling you, if you are backed against a wall, like that lady was, like the guy who was stuck in the rock, or like I was, $640,000 in debt and 182 franchisees who were relying on me, you realize I am born for the winter, and the winter is when I thrive.
I love that, dude. I love it. I was going to ask you the next question, which is, you know, what are the most valuable lessons you've learned through those struggles? But I mean, to me, that's the lesson. That's the lesson.
I have what it takes. They have what it takes.
Yeah. Anybody watching this, quite frankly, I mean, I'll give you a really good illustration. There's people watching this right now that they're having that conversation about, yeah, I don't know if I should go out to this event, or I don't know if I should buy that program. I don't know if I should invest in myself. I'm not really sure. They're listening to the naysayers. They're listening to whatever that voice is. And the reality is guys, we're talking to you. We're literally talking to you right now. That voice is the reason you are not where you want to be. You have to have a different conversation going on in your head. That is, you are designed to win. You are designed to persevere, but you have to exercise that muscle, as Bedros is saying. It's just like anything else. If you don't push and flex and get outside of your comfort zone and get very uncomfortable, then you're going to be trapped where you are. I mean, nothing changes. You agree with that?
Right. 100%.
So, man, when you're going back and you're looking back at your life lessons here over time, what's the advice you would go back and give yourself, you know, to your 20-year-old self, right?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I've only been asked that question one time before, and I immediately knew the answer. And it would be to make faster decisions and take bigger risks. If I can go back, I'm 44 now. If I can go 20 years to 24, I would take bigger risks. I played it too safe and too small, and I took too long to make a decision. I would hand wring and think about it and ask a million people around me whose opinions I valued, even though they didn't know about that particular space or venture I wanted to go on. And because I took forever, I missed out on opportunities that I could have capitalized on. So I'd make faster decisions and I would take bigger risks.
I love that. I love that. You know, one thing, as you were just saying that, I was thinking about this. So you were telling your story earlier how just, I mean, Fit Body Bootcamp in 2012, you just said was basically kind of up against the ropes. You were kind of at a,
Yeah.
place where you had some big decisions to make. So that's not that long ago. I mean, we're talking about 7 years, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody sees you now and, hey man, this is this larger than life guy. He's, Inc. 500, he's all these things. But the reality of it is this now, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is just the culmination today, this moment of 25 years worth of work and experience and everything else, right? I mean, it's one of these where, yeah, that 20-year-old our 24-year-old had made some of those decisions, taken bigger risks, gone after things a little bit more differently. You may have gotten here earlier. You may have gotten to a place earlier, but the reality of it is that your success is a journey. And it's not, I mean, I think it's really important that people don't sit here and say, well, this guy's got it all figured out. Okay, he's been sitting back for 20 years, feet up on the desk, and kids are in private school, flying around there. Bullshit. I mean, this is your life, right?
This is my life, man. And by the way, now that we've got a thriving franchise, like I don't stop because I realize I'm here to serve the world who, look, my only goal is to drop the cost of personal training where I can make it more affordable and convenient to society, where it's not just for the affluent anymore. So now when you walk into a Fit Body Bootcamp, we charge $147 a month, unlimited workout sessions. There's a coach on the floor running the workouts. We text you if you don't come to your workout. No gyms texting you. We're texting you, following up with nutrition, fitness evals. All this to say that I know what my purpose is. And even though we've got 800 locations now, I want 2,500 locations worldwide. And I realized something. And I go, listen, I'm really proud of my gym and then what we do with our locations. And we're serving people and they're 30-minute workouts. So you do a 30-minute workout, Kent, and you're done, baby. And I go, what are we doing for our clients the other 23 and a half hours when they're emotionally eating, when they're at a restaurant, they're ready to make a decision, they don't know what decision to make. If I really say that we're going to have the most cutting edge fitness program on the planet, why do I not control the other 23 and a half hours of their day? So I realized we've got our cell phone. Our cell phone knows exactly where we are at any given time. You can walk into a Mastro's and I can actually create a personal trainer that's based off artificial intelligence that goes, hey, Kent, I see you're at Mastro's. I don't know if you're on a date or a business meeting, but I can tell you that don't eat the pretzel bread because you're going to regret it tomorrow. So right now we are working on software. We're investing $30 million on artificial intelligence, and his name is Artie, like Siri, but Artie. Advanced results through intelligence, right? And Artie is literally, when you wake up, Artie's going to tell you how much you were in bed for 7 hours, but you slept for 4.5. So you might be craving more sugars and carbs today. So watch out. Use your willpower today, Kent. Drink more water to curb your appetite. That's what a real personal trainer would do. And this is what we're going to do through artificial intelligence. But if I just rest on my laurels, so anyone thinks that, hey, Bedros has it made, I'm about to drop $30 million on artificial intelligence. And I ain't no fucking Elon Musk.
Right.
And if this doesn't work, I'm going to be back against the ropes again. Right.
Right.
So I always keep myself just on the edge of failure because that's where the greatest amount of impact, influence, and income is, man.
Dude, that is so prophetic right there. That last nugget right there is spot on. I think I love the fact that, a lot of times I spend a lot of time with guys like yourself and, kind of in these circles, right? And it's always fascinating to me how much it makes me feel where I'm not an alien, right? Because I think some of the things I think are just kind of batshit crazy. But what you just said, I can relate to so much, and I think it's so profound. Is that you're constantly putting yourself right up against the edge because that's where all of the best ideas and energy and influence and opportunity actually comes from. And when people sitting out there and think for a minute that even when they come to Scale Escape and they're going to see me on stage and you on stage and Jesse and everybody else, right? And there's a certain level of they're going to basically put us on a pedestal, for lack of better ways of saying it, right? I don't want to use but that's what they're going to project success on us that, quite frankly, they have no idea that behind the scenes we're sweating it just like they are every day, baby. Every day. Right? Pushing them all in, scared shitless, like, oh my God, this better work. I mean, we just started a new company, and I can tell you right now, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of gut wrenching moments, right? Raised a bunch of money, biggest thing we've ever done. And I just think that people need to clearly understand that that the moment you take your foot off the gas or the moment you start coasting, you can only do that one way, and that's downhill, baby. And it just doesn't happen. It can never happen.
That's the truth, man. And you know, you nailed it, because look, for 24 years, I know all about fitness, and I know every single part of personal training and gyms and boot camps, etc. Dude, I don't know anything about software. I know as much about software as you probably do about opening up a gym.
Right.
And so but I've got the learning curve. I've got Google. I'm going to Google. I'm going to see who else has a similar thing. I'm going to ask who programmed it for you, and can you tell me how? And what kind of contract did you sign? Do I own the code? Does someone else own the code? I don't know any of this, but I do know that I could either say, because I don't know, I'm just going to sit back and let Fit Body Bootcamp become a mediocre fitness brand, or I'm going to go, I'm going to figure it out. And the ability to figure it out goes back to the first part of our conversation, which is problem solve.
Amen. Amen. Last question, dude. What about mentors? What about, you know, how I know I already know the answer, but I'd love to hear who you admire, who you look up to, who you surround yourself with, the people that are kind of helping to clear your path. I mean, we all have them. I'd love to know what kind of role in your life.
Well, I'll tell you, my first exposure to a mentor was when I was in my early 20s to Jim Franco, who was my personal training client. And I didn't know at the moment he was mentoring me. I couldn't attach that label to it, but I later realized he was my first mentor. Now, since then, I've paid for getting mentored by Frank Kern and Dan Kennedy, Joe Polish, Dean Graciosi, and the list goes on. From speaking coaches, currently we're paying Cameron Harold. He was the COO for 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and he's helping us scale our franchise. Like, look, I've never been a franchisor. And now that we're the 182nd fastest growing franchise on the planet, well, I better get someone who's done it before and say, here's a lot of money, mentor me. And so to me, mentors are people who help you avoid frustration and loss of money and help you achieve time collapsing. What I would have figured out in 3 years, I'll figure it out in 1 year.
That's what it's all about, man. I love it. I love it. I couldn't have said it better. I mean, Kern and I are really good friends. You know, I'm just like you. I invest a ton of money in masterminds, and still to this day, getting mentored. I just hired a guy with our new Cribs platform. I just hired a guy that was the CMO of Yahoo and Virgin Mobile, et cetera, because I don't know anything about taking a company and actually bringing it in and taking it public. I don't know anything about it. This is a guy that's done that, right? And so I just think that it's a lot of people hear these things and they don't necessarily connect the dots. So I really appreciate you helping to connect some of these dots here today to tell.
My pleasure. Can I share one more thing where mentorship is concerned?
I love it,
dude. And it's not just about business, by the way, or productivity and time management. Like, you do realize, I hope your audience realizes, that no one makes it through their childhood and their 20s unscathed. Like, we've all had some kind of damage. Look, and I talk about it openly in my book, so I'll talk about it here. In Armenia, in the Soviet Union, between the ages of 4 and 6, I was molested by 2 older boys routinely. When my dad decided that we're going to escape Soviet Union, we didn't just escape communism. We escaped molestation, right? And he doesn't know it until this day. My parents are alive in Anaheim. They're in their 80s. And so, you know, that leaves scars on a young man. Now, I don't care if you've been molested, you've been raped, you've been emotionally abused, you've been physically abused. You've dealt with trauma. Maybe you've been bullied. Maybe someone's rejected you. All those things put filters on our eyes and ears, and we see the world in different ways that are designed to make us into victims or to not be as brave when it's time to take on a new challenge. And so when we talk about mentors, it's not just, hey, who's going to help me market and write sales copy? I decided at the age of 37, when I had a massive anxiety attack, that there's something going on wrong in here. And it's affecting here in my heart. And it was impacting my relationship with my wife. And I started working with a therapist. And I went for 16 months every Monday at 5 o'clock. And I just worked through the problems, the scars, the adversity, the bullying. And I was able to process through the trauma that I had gone. And I share this with you because so many people, the statistics are this: 1 out of every 4 people have dealt with sexual abuse. 1 out of every 3 people have had some kind of physical and mental abuse. And by the way, the same part of your brain lights up on a CAT scan if you've gone through any trauma. So when you think about it, we've all pretty much gone through it. That said, why not work with professionals to help process through it so you can become more efficient, more effective? You can see the world, take off those ugly filters and see the world for what it really is, an abundant place full of great people who want to help and serve you.
Man, I love that. I love that. For me, dude, I think that's probably the, I don't know how I top that. So let's, I'm going to make that the final word. I'll let you kind of basically wrap it up, and then I'll tell people how to get to Scale and Escape. But I would love, do you have any final thoughts outside of that you want to share here, Nick?
No, man, I'll tell you, my final thoughts are this, is that proximity is power and environmental exposure is everything. And so while we're here on the internet and social media and blah, 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 like if anyone's watching this and they're on the fence about should I come to this event, Scale and Escape, I would say you are functionally broken if you are not going to be at that event, because proximity is power and environmental exposure to humans, like shaking our hands. Like when I shook a millionaire's hand the first time, Jim Franco, I was like, whoa, he's just like me. Now, of course he is, but I had no idea. I'd never met a millionaire, man. I'm a foreigner to this country, right? And so that all of a sudden helped. It was like the Roger Bannister moment. All of a sudden I was like, well, if this old guy who's curmudgeon can do it, maybe I can do it, right? And it gave me a little boost of confidence. I could have read about him in a book. I could have maybe seen him on social media if there was social media 24 years ago, right? But to be able to be within his proximity, shake his hand, talk to him, it was the aha moment that I needed. And I hope that that's what the people watching this are going to do. They're going to get on a plane, they're going to get in a car, they're going to come to your event, and they're going to shake our hands and ask us questions.
I love it, dude. And they're absolutely going to do it. I can't thank you enough for being here today. Guys, if you want to get, if you haven't already done it, I know, hundreds of you have already got your tickets. I will tell you that we met this morning and tickets are starting to wind up. We're probably in the last, I don't know, we probably have 100 or so tickets left. So with only a handful of the VIPs. And so if you haven't booked your ticket yet, I want to encourage you to do that. Just go to scaleandescape.com. Again, it's June 6th, 7th, and 8th. If you are VIP, and we've got meet and greets and opportunity, as Bedros just said, to sit there and shake our hands and hang out and kind of get to know us a little bit after the speaking. And so I really want to encourage you to do that. If you're coming into any problems, any issues, any challenges, feel free to give us a call at 888-411-1705. We will happily figure out how to get you there. This event is going to be that important in your success. And again, a lot of people ask us why we do these events, because needless to say, we've got, a lot of things going on. These is not something that we have to do. And the reality of it is that because of exactly what Bedros just said, I mean, this is an opportunity to create impact, right? To get in the proximity of people that can have a real impact on your life, and just being around that energy. A rising tide raises all ships. I mean, the moment you get around it, you can't help but feel and begin to envision and imagine a different future, a different opportunity, a different reality. And then when you, on top of it, get the actual tactics and the strategies and all of the knowledge that comes with how to actually implement that plan, well, guys, I mean, it's not going to get any better than that. So, dude, I cannot thank you enough for being here and doing this for me today. I can't wait to hang out with you. And, next, depending on schedules, hopefully we can get together. Maybe I'll come up there and see you in the next few weeks or so.
Looking forward to it.
You got it, brother. Peace. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Everybody.